Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Footy Fans Podcast, episode 17. Andrew, Santo, Joe, as always, you're the best trio around.
Hey, everyone. What's up, everybody?
This isn't really a COVID podcast recording because we're doing it on video again. I'm remodeling my basement. So for the podcast, it's usually recorded. It's kind of like a war zone down here. So we'll be back to, the other recording soon, I guess.
Yeah, depending on Omicron.
Depending on how it's going to work, man. Like this thing's a super spreader. It is good that it's not like as lethal as I guess has been before.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that people get it so easily, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I think even if me and Joe go to your house, we'd be breaking all the rules because there would be 6 of us in the house, and the rule's 5.
Do babies count?
That's what I've always asked. That's what I asked on Christmas when we were debating whether we should get together because we'd be just slightly over, and we have our baby in the family. So I don't think they count.
They're sleeping anyways too. They're not even like present in like the room. Like
5 people in 1 square foot area of the house.
I don't know. I mean, we can go all day about this if we really wanted to. But
this is not a COVID podcast, and then we talk about COVID.
There's tons of outlets out there if you want to go on COVID route, but this is a strictly Premier League, strictly football podcast. We try and keep it light, try and keep it breezy.
Yeah. I guess while we're on the topic of COVID, since we don't have too many Premier League games, how do you feel about how they're handling COVID with the Premier League? Because I know, if you have X amount of players positive, but you can still field whatever, you still have to play. And I've heard the debate, it's like, we don't want the title decided on, COVID cases, which I kind of agree with,
Yeah. I mean, it's tough. It's tough because obviously England is a very congested country, and there's got pockets of teams everywhere. In the Midlands, they got 4 teams, and in London, they have 5-6 teams at a time. So it's strange to me where they can call off a game, let's say Arsenal versus, I don't know, Burnley or something. But then at Arsenal, in London, but then Tottenham and Leicester will play at Tottenham Stadium, 5 kilometers away from where Emirates is.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But then it's but then Arsenal and Tottenham are playing each other in 5 days, but Arsenal's not playing. It just doesn't make much sense to me how they can decipher which teams are going to play, which teams aren't going to play when you put one team so shorthanded, and it's they have to field reserve players.
Yeah.
And it's clearly that's not their full strength squad, and it's no fault of their own. Maybe it is if they're interacting with the wrong crowd, but
still some things are out of your control, right?
Yeah. And I don't know how it's tough because I don't understand how some coaches have even come forward. I know Tuchel came forward a couple weeks ago and was like, we have nobody. Well, we have 6 guys missing, and 4 of them are starters. And they're he went to protest. He came to the FA and was like, can we please postpone our game? I forget who they're playing. It was a couple weeks back, but they're playing somebody. Can we please post? It might be in the Brighton game or something.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you're playing.
Yeah. I think.
But then that same week, 2 other games got postponed.
I think you can only get I forget the actual rules, and they're kind of shady, but if you have 6 first team players or more, I think that's when the game gets postponed. Or it's something weird like that. There's a certain number of how many players you need to test positive before your game gets postponed. That's what I heard. I don't know if it's true, but it's something weird like that. But either way, I can see his frustration about why it's not fair, because now it's almost like the title is going to be decided based on how healthy your team is, even if they feel fine to play. So it's a very touchy situation.
I was just going to add, it's not like it's injuries that took place during a match.
Yeah,
where that's why they're down players. It's just a worldwide pandemic.
Yeah,
it's not like Hudson-Odoi got injured in training and now he can't play. He got COVID. He's one of billion people now that got COVID all throughout the year or all throughout the world. So I don't know. I mean, we've been lucky that the people who are getting it in the sports world are world-class athletes, so they can recover pretty quickly, it seems. with not much, I don't know,
Like
going
any
full,
symptoms of like
yeah,
long
no
COVID or
symptoms,
like
yeah, like long-term like health issues, like they kind of get back quickly without having any effect on their play,
Mhm.
yeah.
which is obviously good. But yeah, it's tough because in the world of football, like 1 or 2 games could really make or break your season.
Yeah.
And if you get a stretch of, a week or 2 weeks where you're playing 4 games condensed in 14 days or something, and 3 out of those 4 days you're just decimated by COVID cases, and they don't get postponed, like you could lose those 3 games and or draw a couple of them, a couple of games that you should actually end up winning, and then you have a team
Yeah.
like Man City who just keeps rolling, and it's like, well, you drop points because of COVID.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's a tough spot to be in. I think the thing that they should have done was maybe shut it down over the Christmas break, like league wide, because
Yeah.
now you have all these makeup games too that they have to like sprinkle in throughout the season, which makes
Yeah.
it even harder for teams to recover because now you have to play 3 games in 1 week to
Yeah.
make up for your lost COVID games.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the postponed to be. I don't even know what C stands for, but to be confirmed games. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why this
20-some
closeout of
games
the
here.
season is going to be just wild in terms of what the schedule is going to look like, because we're used to it, especially after the Christmas break. And then when other competitions, then it gets pretty consistent. Just every weekend, Saturday or Sunday, you're playing. But with all these TBC games, it's going to be just kind of maybe a little bit of a lighter Christmas schedule for teams, just going for who knows how long. Hopefully, more games don't get postponed, because that'll make it pretty tough. Even though, I do think that the title's kind of done, but if you're in like relegation battle like Newcastle, or you're fighting for Europe, you want as many things to go your way as possible, and just cramming in a bunch of games and then potential COVID, potential people sitting out because of COVID, I think is going to make it pretty tough for some teams.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, you still obviously have international break matches, and you have, like you said, like other competitions involved to mix in there, as well as the makeup game. So it's either they're going to extend the season, they're going to have to extend it a few weeks to try and make all these games fit in, or they're going to have to, like I said, kind of mix games in between weeks and in between other matches, which is probably the harder of the two options.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to do it. It's going to be tough.
No, I remember reading an article years ago, like this is a while ago, where it just talked about like the difficulty of being the Premier League match scheduler.
Oh, yeah.
I do think it's a team, but I think there's one person that oversees it. And it just kind of gave a little bit of breakdown of how tough it is, because you're mixing in EPL, you have all the different domestic competitions that go on, and Champions League for the top teams, all the international breaks. It's a tough scheduling job.
I think some North American sports, like I think hockey and like baseball, they just have a robot do it.
Well, if you don't have
a computer, not robot,
but if you don't have like a lot of other competitions that you need to play in, or like maybe a lot less than football, you can have a computer do it, but
I mean, like when you have like you need them to know the FA Cup, the EFL, all like because like a bunch of players now are gone to African Cup of Nations, which is kind of weird that it's not like the EPL is still going. So like there's a bunch of players missing. But when you have that, you have Champions League, very, very tough.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then plus with like scheduling the grounds and making sure they have a full availability. I mean, I know nowadays because of COVID, concerts and other entertainment is kind of limited, but they would rent out like Old Trafford for a concert or something. Yeah, it's like now they have to kind of like, okay, figure out, is there a concert today? Is it EFL Cup? Is there a Champions League match? Is it Premier League reschedule? Like, what a hectic job to have.
Chelsea sit or Manchester Derby gets scheduled. It's like, oh no, Celine Dion or whoever's playing. What do we do?
No, I can't do it. No, I gotta.
He hits him with the Celine Dion.
Just because he watched Cobra Kai recently, and she made a appearance.
No,
in the
that
show.
Was Carrie Underwood. I think that's her.
Oh no, it was
Cobra Kai.
Underwood.
If anyone watches Cobra Kai, let us know who it was. I'm pretty sure it was Carrie Underwood.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Andrew, have
I
you watched?
forget now.
Have you seen Cobra Kai
I have not watched Cobra Kai yet. You guys tried to get me on it last time. I haven't watched it yet.
at all?
No, I haven't had time. I don't have time. I
Karate
make
Kid.
time for this for you guys.
Thanks, man. But no, watch Cobra Kai.
Yeah, no, if I get a free minute, I will. Because I
in
love.
the comments, drop a comment. Whoever, if Andrew should watch Cobra Kai.
Yeah, we'll put a poll together or something.
Yeah.
Should I watch it? Yes or no? I mean, I love the original, like Karate Kids with Ralph Macchio and Mr.
Yeah, and it's
Miyagi.
the same
I know.
people.
I know.
They're just older now.
I
It's
know.
unreal.
This is the point of the podcast where we ask you to like and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. It really helps us out. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, please. And like I said, liking it does a lot for boosting up the video and all that. Okay, so obviously we're going to discuss some FA Cup results and early transfer window deals that have taken place. But on the Canadian side, on the home front here, kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Lorenzo Insigne. Lorenzo Insigne signing with Toronto FC on a 4-year deal, kicking off on July 1st, on the end of his contract with Napoli. He did not re-sign with Napoli. I mean, I don't know if that's like a mistake by them. We'll obviously see how that plays out.
Mm-hmm.
But this is some news that has kind of dropped the last couple of weeks. Like rumors coming out here and there, and nothing really totally finalized yet. And then when I saw the tweet from Fabrizio Romano, who's always like the number one guy basically with when it comes to transfers, that he was officially signing, and I saw the pictures of him like, crossing the T's, dotting the I's. I was like, holy shit, this is actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what's our initial reaction to Insigne becoming the new TFC frontman?
I'm honestly surprised. Like, when I first heard any like inkling of it, I was like, just another kind of rumor. Like you see all the pictures on Instagram with Haaland with the Man City shirt on, where like you see it nonstop, right? But I'm honestly surprised that he went. He is 30, kind of heading towards the later part of his career. But, given with how he played in Euro, I'd still say he has what it takes to compete at the highest level. Not completely a knock to the MLS saying it's not a really high level, but, all the top players want to play in Champions League. They want to play in Europe, and that's where you're going to win the most coveted trophies as a player. I'm honestly surprised he didn't stay in Europe for at least a few more seasons until, maybe he was 32, 33. But, TFC said he's in the prime of his career, so they kind of felt like they got a good deal for him. I'm not sure if it's totally in the prime of his career, but obviously with him still playing well, I think he's going to contribute a lot. I just think he's probably going to stay in North America now, because I don't know where he's going to go if he stays, for his full contract here. Don't really know where he's going to go after, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's not a knock to the MLS, but like a lot of players go there as their final, transfer before retiring. That's what, I am a little surprised, like you said, especially after the Euro Cup where they won. But I don't know.
He was like,
details.
he was impactful in the Euro.
I know, and that's what I mean. I don't know the full details of the transfer. I don't know how much they're paying him.
I believe it's 11.5 per season.
Yeah.
11.5 million per season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I wouldn't say no.
Well, yeah, I'm just curious how much money had a factor.
Yeah.
There could have been a ton of things. I'd have to read up on the details, but like you said, especially where he's at with his career, where Italy's at with, the World Cup coming up. I thought he would want to play at a higher level. Like, to me, I was shocked. I'm like, is that really happening? Like, why is it? What's going on here? But yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, obviously he's going to go there. He's probably going to do really well, but it's just a question of, is that what he wants to do for the final leg of his career? And if it is, why? But respect his decision to doing that. And like you said, I know we talked about this earlier, but I'm not sure Mancini's going to be the one to say it's like, oh, you're not going to play for Italy because you're playing for Toronto FC. I think he's level-headed enough to at least give him a chance, not like Conte with Giovinco. especially with Italy where their striker situation is at. They don't have too many options.
Yeah, they're pretty weak.
So, I mean, if he wants to, whatever, go to Toronto because he wants to experience North America, cool. If he can still keep up with, performing on the international level, then, good for him. So, we'll see.
Yeah, like you mentioned before, like players kind of go to the MLS at the end of their career. Like we've seen it before with Beckham. Obviously, that was the biggest one with LA Galaxy. In more recent times, like Andre Pirlo, Lampard, Gerrard, Robbie Keane, they kind of all had like their shining moments when they were playing at the top level, and they kind of just died off a little bit in the MLS. But even like when Jovinko came, that's a big name, clearly. And he came in his prime, I would say, like when he left Juventus, he was kind of on his way out a little bit because they were bringing in other players. It wasn't like he was getting too old, but they were just bringing kind of better talent. So when he joined, he was still in his like prime, like part of his life, I guess you want to say, a part of his tenure. And when he came to MLS, he dominated, like instant impact.
Yeah.
And for a player with Insigne's like stature, for him to come at this point in time in his career, I think that's huge for MLS. I think it's huge for the game. It's kind of crazy how like arguably the two most impactful players that have come to MLS have both been Italian and both gone to TFC.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like the little Italy and Toronto bias coming in. I don't know if that's like what it is. Kind of like an enticing feature to bring them in.
Yeah.
But obviously whatever they said to him, and he must have spoke to Jovinko too. There's no way that they didn't communicate at some point, somehow, like some way, saying, "Hey, is this worth it? What's the life like there in Toronto? Like, how? Like, is this a good choice for me?" And clearly, whatever Jovinko would have said to him obviously worked, because to be the captain of a team like Napoli with the history they have of players like Maradona making it big there, and them sitting in third place right now in Serie A, for him to leave at the end of the season like comfortably and say, "I'm going to come to Toronto," that's crazy.
Yeah. The
like
fact that they can swoop a
wild.
player like that at that point, right?
Yeah.
And clearly like money has to talk at some point. It's not like he's making a step up in his career, clearly. I don't know what he's currently making at Napoli, like what his weekly or annual salary is, but I don't think it's 11.5 million. So clearly that had to do something with it. And let's not forget, like Toronto FC is also owned by MLSE, who own the Maple Leafs, who own the Raptors, who own the Toronto Argonauts. Like they got money coming out their ass. So it's not like they really had to break the bank for this guy. Yeah, it's a big number to us, but then you look at other North American sports like hockey, you make 11 million per year for the top players. Basketball, you make 40 million a year. So I think just for like the standpoint that we see it as in like you're making 11.5 million per year to play soccer is kind of different than what we see from like the weekly salary that we see in the EPL sometimes, where a player's making like 140 grand a week. Well, that only plays out to like, I don't know, 6 million a year or something.
Yeah, that's true.
Like that could be totally wrong. I have no idea. But I think just like 11
there.
I have no idea if that's
no, 52 weeks in a year, 140, like maybe a little more than 6 million, but around there ish.
I don't know, man. I have no idea. 10 I don't know.
150 a week. 150 a week times 52 is 7.8 million.
What did I say? 6?
6.
Yeah.
6-ish.
Whatever. That's close. Whatever.
Yeah.
I was saying, so that's how we normally see it. So just like to make a splash and say 11.5 mil, like that's what you're making per year. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like that's a good chunk of change in the world of footy and in soccer. So, I mean, good on them. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I'll probably bite the bullet and buy an Insigne TFC jersey. Maybe I'll wear it. Maybe I'll hang it behind me here. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it's pretty cool, man. We don't see it very often, like an actual national team namestay. And that's another point, Jovinko. He wasn't like a number one guy on the national team. Like when was it Conte that was making Conte at the time? He wasn't like the first guy on the list that he was penciling in. Yeah. Insigne's there.
Yeah.
Like no matter what. So I think that being said, and like the history that Insigne now has of Mancini and what they've accomplished over this past year, that'll kind of play going forward as well. He's not gonna he's gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna forget about this guy now, like he's a nobody. They know each other. They have a relationship. Insigne was vital in Italy's and Italy's winning of the Euro this year. So I think he's comfortable with the national team.
Yeah.
We'll just see what Toronto does next, because there's rumor of Bellotti from Torino also maybe going there too.
Yeah, I saw that too.
So-
Giovinco. I just read Giovinco wants to go
And
back
maybe
too.
Jovinko too. Yeah,
They
front
can't agree on
three-
dollar terms, but I don't know. Like,
Front three could be Insigne on the left, Bellotti up top, and then Jovinko on the right.
There's 3 BFS from
Like,
Italy
what
just
is
hanging out
happening?
in Toronto here.
What is happening?
can you imagine?
That's incredible.
If they could, though, can you imagine just the attendance every game? I mean, I've always wanted to go to a TFC game, but if all 3 of them, I think we would make it like a more concerted effort, pending any COVID situations to actually
go.
Mhm.
We would have to go.
Yeah, just to go see that happen. Because, yeah, I mean, having Giovinco or Insigne on your team alone is already huge, but having like them on the team at the same time, obviously, it's not a 1 + 1 = 2 situation. It's like 1 + 1 = 4.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll see. It's gonna be exciting. We'll see how TFC performs. Hopefully, he could have an impact like Giovinco did, because that made a mark on the MLS, I think, forever. Just what Giovinco was able to do right first season when he gets to TFC. It was just kind of like nothing could go wrong for the guy. You know, any
wild.
free kick he took, any just attacking play. It was just an expectation that something was going to happen every time he got in the ball. So rooting for Insigne to have the same fortune when he gets there.
Yeah, it was like literally like a highlight reel every single match when Jovinko was playing. It
Yeah.
was hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, to get into the English game, clearly this was an FA Cup weekend, or week, I should say. So tons of games. I mean, we're not going to go through all of them, because I think there was almost like 40 matches in total.
Yep.
But just out of the Premier League, I made a list here of all the teams from the Premier League that made it through. The biggest name that did not go through was Arsenal, losing their match today, actually, against Nottingham Forest. Isn't that what like Robin Hood's from?
Nottingham Forest.
Is it?
Is it?
I
I
so.
think
Do you have
so.
any Robin Hood fans? I mean,
Nottingham Forest. Not what the hell is Robin Hood from? What the fox? Like the
Yeah, I
sexy,
know what you
the
mean.
sexy little fox from the Disney movie.
Here, let's look this up here.
I think it's Nottingham Forest.
Let's see here. Sherwood
Yeah.
Forest.
Sherwood Forest.
Are you sure? Oh
It's
yeah.
in it's a Royal Forest in Nottinghamshire.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I
to
knew
be-
there was a tie somewhere.
To be fair, there's probably at some point they call it Nottingham Forest.
I guess it's like Robin of Nottingham or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Anyways.
had Nottingham in my head. I don't
Here's
know.
a
Anyways,
little
Arsenal played-
Robin Hood tossing for.
Anyways, Arsenal played
Robin Hood.
Nottingham Forest.
Arsenal played Nottingham Forest. The match was today, Sunday, the 9th. And I believe it was like an 80-something minute goal against for Arsenal. I didn't tune into the match. I just saw the score line. Clearly FA Cup. And this is also FA Cup third round, by the way. So this is actually the first round that Premier League teams are actually in the tournament. So I was doing some research on it before. They kind of fight it out between all divisions up until the first and second rounds. And then the third round is when the Premier League teams automatically just kind of qualify into the mix. And then the draw happens. And then that's how the teams get matched up against each other. So Arsenal drawing Nottingham Forest. Clearly they said, okay, we're probably the favorite here, obviously. And I'm going to check the lineup right now and see if they actually put out a pretty solid lineup or not.
They did. Looks like they had Saka, Odegaard, those guys. So
Martinelli,
surprising. Anything can happen in the FA Cup.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like a lot of the teams obviously look at FA Cup as kind of like a resting week or resting schedule for most of their starting 11 guys. So clearly, you have to play some players, but this is when, like you said, like the little guy kind of steps up and can just surprise you. And we've seen it every single year where like a big club gets knocked out in the third or fourth round with 4 rounds still to play. And you get, oh, wow, like they lost to this team. Oh, Man City didn't make it through, or Liverpool got knocked out. So Arsenal is the first of the the big teams to go. As you would think, the rest of the teams like, Man City, Chelsea, Palace, Leicester, Everton, Southampton, Norwich, Liverpool, Tottenham, West Ham, and Wolves all make it through to the next round. And then the final game being played for FA Cup is actually tomorrow between United and Aston Villa, which is actually a pretty good little matchup for FA Cup standards.
Mm-hmm.
So the winner of that will get put into the mix of the previous winners that I mentioned, and I'll have to do like another redraw, I believe, to see where all those teams line up.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's always fun to see, and I think that's why there's nothing like the English game where you have these domestic competitions where you have teams from all divisions playing, and you get to go and play Arsenal when you're in a lower tier, and that's something the fans dream of when they are supporters of those lower tier teams. And it's what makes it so exciting because, you don't hear about it a lot in other leagues where you see these kind of upsets. We've talked about it before where, like the Spanish league, where there's such a divide between, the top teams and the bottom teams just in the Liga alone. But here you get all these upsets from these small town clubs just, taking it to Arsenal in this case. It kind of reminds me in the City game, they were playing a Swindon Town, I think it was.
Nice, yeah.
And they were up 3-0, and then Swindon Town scored to make it 3-1. And it was Man City was away, so we were playing in Swindon Town, and they were just loving the goal. They sallied so hard just for scoring a goal against City, and that's kind of things you just love to see, right? Like, things you dream about as a player, even if you kind of accept the fact that you might never make it to the EPL. Probably not going to score a lot of goals against Ederson if you're playing in the lower division, right?
They played Ederson. He was a starter.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. This team Kidderminster is playing West Ham, and I'm not entirely sure. I think this might be like the lowest division team I've ever seen. Kidderminster FC.
What tier are they in?
What's that?
What tier are they in?
I'm not sure. It said D10. No, 6th tier.
6th?
Yes.
I didn't know it went down to 6.
I guess it does.
Oh, they're in the National League.
That is crazy. I mean, that's what I mean. Like, their stadium capacity, 6,000. And
that's actually kind of a lot. I've seen less than that before.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it. Could you imagine, like, if just Tecumseh had its, like, if we were in England, we had our own, Tecumseh FC or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
If we were in England, that team would be the lifeblood of Tecumseh, and everyone would live and breathe that if you were in England. So it's kind of cool to see these super small teams, go and play. I mean, granted, it's West Ham, but for them, it's probably a massive deal. So, good on them.
And I like how they
Kidderminster Harriers FC.
That's Joe's ringer for the FA
there
Cup.
You go. Yeah, bank on them. Hey, how's not Champions League, but what's it, Sheriff? I don't know if they made it through.
Oh God, no, they didn't.
I'm not sure they did. Yeah,
Sheriff Trabzonspor, who the hell they were, did not make it through. In Champions League, they got bounced. I think it was Real Madrid and Inter went through. I think it was on the last day though of the competition. It was like they came down to the end.
I'm banking on Kidderminster then for FA. There you go.
That's Joe's pick. No, it's really cool how they do that. I think most of the games they like when the Premier League teams first get put into the mix. I think that first week or that first match day, they go away usually, like away from the Premier League team. So you have teams, like I said, Liverpool, Chelsea, West Ham going away to some place that has like 1,000 seat capacity or something. And it's like the biggest deal for them in the world. And they sell out and they raise money and ticket sales and all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool to get to see players, like world-class players, like Kevin De Bruyne going to some like dog shit field,
going to Kidderminster area.
Yeah.
There you go.
This actually happened to Chelsea a couple years ago, I think it was. Maybe it was last season. They played against who was it? Barnsley or something. And I watched this match and like Chelsea almost lost. Like it was crazy. I think it came down to like last 15 minutes of the game, Chelsea ended up scoring a goal, but this team pressed them so hard.
Yeah.
It was at Barnsley, and like you could see from the camera angle that the field was like slanted, like one way. It wasn't a perfect level pitch. There was pothole looking stuff on the field. It looked like a place that we would play at.
Yeah.
And these
Looked like
Barnsley guys,
McHugh.
yeah. And McHugh's probably better, to be honest. But these Barnsley guys were just killing it because that's what they're used to.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have a player like Kovacic trying to receive a pass and it bounces up his leg and goes over his shoulder because he can't control it.
Yeah.
You know, the guy from Barnsley looks like Ronaldinho, like taking like a beautiful touch, and I'm like, well, this guy's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to watch, you know, these big clubs go away to these smaller, you know, obviously not as superior teams, and you know they find it tough sometimes, and that's when you get the big surprises.
Yeah.
As far as just the Chelsea game goes, actually, they were playing against, oh god, who'd they play? I watched the game. Oh, this is killing me. Chesterfield or something. I feel bad now for Chesterfield. Yeah, Chesterfield. And the game was actually at Stamford Bridge, so I was kind of surprised by. Because like I said,
Okay.
mostly they try and put it away. But the game was at the Bridge. Chelsea played a lot of young kids, like many teams do. And I mean, by halftime, it was like 4-0 for Chelsea. Final ended up being 5-1. In the 80-something minute, Chesterfield came down and scored like a pretty scrappy goal. Like it was bad. Bad defending all around, but Chesterfield scored. The place went nuts.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Oh, it was crazy. I thought that they had the Chesterfield fans behind the net when they scored, but it was just like it was the Chelsea fans. And then they showed the entire stadium and the whole place at the Bridge, 40,000 people were just going nuts for this team. Like they were like
Really?
fist pumping, they were going crazy. I'm like, this is like a home game for them. Like this is awesome.
What? I did not see that. I gotta.
Yeah, it was
check.
really
I'm
cool.
wondering how it would feel like that as a
I mean, it
player.
was a pity goal. It was like the 84th minute. It was 5-1 at that point.
I'm gonna check this out.
I mean, all
on
the guys,
YouTube.
like the guy from Chesterfield that scored was like smiling on the pitch. He was like kind of celebrating, like, you know, like, yeah, me, like whatever. The guys got together and kind of congratulated him. I think that's cool. Like the fans were like looking forward to this guy to score.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of cool.
Well, it's probably like the biggest goal of his career.
That's
right?
what I mean. Like you're scoring
Yeah.
at Chelsea. Like who would have thought this would ever happen in your life?
Yeah.
You're playing in front of 35, you know, almost 40,000 people.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty cool. Like I didn't care from it. I mean, if it was like 3-2 and they scored to tie the game, like fuck this guy. Like, you know, like,
Yeah, if it was
you know,
close. But no, that's the
that
thing.
point.
With the FA Cup teams, like for a lot of the players, it's the biggest game of their life, right? Like they're never going to get a chance to play against Chelsea or Liverpool or City, right?
Right, yeah.
It's the only time you're going to have, you know, millions of people watching your game and watching you play. It's things you dream about.
They just go. No, sorry, I'm just watching the replay.
You
They
found
just
it?
go. Yeah, they go. I'm
Yeah.
watching it on YouTube. They just go nuts behind the goal. If anyone wants to see, oh, that's so awesome.
We'll put the link in the description on the YouTube video.
Chelsea
Yeah.
versus Chesterfield, key moments, third round. What is it? Minute 134. They're just like, yeah, he just takes it. Open net.
Yeah, it was a
The
bad
Chelsea
goal,
fans. Oh my gosh. Are you sure?
So they-
No, are you sure it's not the Chesterfield fans behind the?
Dude, they're at Chelsea. Like they're at the Bridge.
Oh man, that is.
I was
actually-
watching it. I missed the beginning of the game and I think I picked it up in the 20-something minute, and I didn't see like the stadium yet, and I was like, wow, this is a pretty nice field for like an away side. Like for Chesterfield, this is pretty sick.
Yeah.
And they panned out, and I'm like,
That looks like the bridge.
that's Stamford Bridge. Like unless Chesterfield designed their stadium after Stamford Bridge, but it's only like 15,000 people.
Yeah.
But no, it was at the Bridge.
But like the fans behind the net, that's not the Chesterfield traveling.
Oh, that's
supporters?
Chelsea. I mean, it might be, but like they pan out and the whole stadium's going crazy.
That is so awesome.
It was pretty cool. Like I said, I don't care. It was
Yeah.
That's kind of like the cool part about football, like when you can celebrate like that and like not really see the harm in anything. Because obviously you have the diehards who are like, I'm never gonna cheer for anybody but my team. I bleed Watford yellow, you know, like kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to see that, you know, that's cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
And obviously, like these games mean a lot though to these clubs as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like these lower end teams in lower divisions, because if you just make it to the third round, you win $76,000. This is I found the stat here. It's in dollar amounts.
Mm-hmm.
A first round win and a second round win guarantees you $76,000 for your club. Which, I mean, to a team like Chesterfield or Kittering Town, whatever the hell Joe said, that could be huge for them, right?
Yeah.
And then anything after that, you're in the six-figure numbers, six-figure digits, as far as like earnings or winning amount payouts, until you reach the semifinal, where then you get 1.2 million just for reaching the semifinal. Sorry, you get 1.2 million for winning the semifinal, and you get like $600,000 for losing in the semifinal. Which I mean, like again, like these numbers can make or break an entire side, right? You can spend money on renovation upgrades or get a better training facility for your team, or buy some player that you've had your eye on for a while that you can't afford.
Yeah.
So I mean, for the likes of Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United, Man City, whatever, the payout of like 2.4 million is like kind of nothing.
Yeah.
In the big scale.
That's like Grealish's wages for maybe a month.
It's like, oh wow, we can pay one guy for a month. Like, congratulations.
Yeah.
But that's the thing with FA Cup, and obviously it's kind of lost its luster, I think, in more recent years. Like I know I've seen videos and interviews of people in the past saying how the FA Cup's like the most prestigious thing you can win in England. Like before they really made the Premier League what it is. I think it was in 1991 or 1992. Is like when the Premier League became the official like English Premier League. Like this is its own thing. The FA Cup was like the shining star that everyone tried to get to.
Yeah.
And I feel like, I think we talked about this before in a previous podcast, but I feel like it's a lot of the competitions now have like kind of lost their meaning. And it's sad because I researched it before. The FA Cup is it's in its 141st year of existence, which is like wild.
Yeah.
It's almost as old as Canada, I think, or older than Canada, to be honest, like our country, or close to. So like for a competition to be going on for that long, and the history obviously behind it, and the small teams that have come from nothing to actually, get there and win it, it's kind of like lost its place a little bit now, where it's all about the money. It's all about, the advertising and like the sponsorships, and it's not as, coveted for a team to win it.
Right.
Like even like the bigger clubs that do end up winning it every year. I know Arsenal has been there, Chelsea, Leicester, I think Man City, in the last 5-6 years. I mean, yeah, it's nice to have on your trophy case, but it's not
like
as like prestigious and as like coveted as what it used to be.
Yeah. I mean, if you're like any of the top teams, really, you only care about the EPL and Champions League, I think. Having all the other ones are just, to win silverware, which is nice for the fans to always win silverware. But, you're not there to make sure you win the FA Cup over the EPL and especially over Champions League, right? Like, you're prioritizing those two above everything else. And then if you win the other two, great. But no team's going to try and win the FA Cup or any of the other domestic competitions at the expense of winning a Premier League game.
Unless you are in like mid to late table, right?
Yes, in the event that you don't have a whole lot to play for in the Premier League, then yeah. Also, maybe in the case of City, if they get to a point where they're like very comfortably almost 100% going to win the EPL and they're still in another competition, they might prioritize that just to get extra silverware.
Yeah.
But if it's close, you're not going to – if you have someone to play for in the Premier League, that's going to take precedent over anything else.
Yeah.
Yep.
Except for Champions League.
Yeah.
Because if you have to make a choice, honestly, especially if you're Pep.
Even if – I would imagine even if City gets the league tied up and they're in all these other competitions, they're probably just going to rest everyone and just focus on Champions League. Because if Pep doesn't win that at City, that's going to be a big, rain cloud over his head for a while, maybe.
Yeah.
Not winning Champions League, especially with the squad they have, what he's been able to build, is probably the best, some of the best football I've seen in a long time. So I would be shocked if they don't end up winning Champions League at some point or another. Maybe this is the year. they seem to be cruising in the EPL, and a lot of other teams are struggling with what have you, COVID or whatever it might be. So I think maybe this is their year. We'll see if they take advantage. I thought last year would be it too, but
Or Chelsea spoiled the Man City party.
Chelsea got in the way, baby.
One goal.
Granted, if that was the same thing this year with how things are going, they'd probably win that pretty comfortably. But you never know.
Hey, watch what you say.
Well, I'm just saying, what
With if you have if you have both your outside backs gone and you got what's his face playing wing back. Oh my god,
Pulisic.
No, Pulisic. Yeah,
Pulisic playing wing back.
He's playing wing back in the case of Reece James or Chilwell because they're both hurt.
Yeah.
That's your third option right now.
No bueno. No bueno. Well, I mean, he doesn't play there now. They have Alonso and who they put there. Alonso and Azpilicueta, which I mean, I'm not saying I could. I could maybe outrun those two guys, and that's you guys know me.
Maybe not Alonso. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know. He's got longer legs. He's got longer strides.
That's what I mean. He's like 30 feet taller than all of us. So
yeah.
I
think Azpilicueta he'll probably foul me before I even get there. He'll just drag me down or something. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of hard done by when I saw that Newcastle lost their match in FA Cup. Because again, like that's just more money, adding to the team, right? If they would have been able to get forward and go to the next round.
Yeah, because Newcastle needs all the money they can get, right?
Well, no, but I mean, it's still something to like push the team forward. I know. Okay, money was not the proper way to say it. It wasn't money motivation, but just learning how to win.
Yeah.
I mean, they had their matchup against Cambridge United, which is football. What is it? What league are they in? What are they in? Cambridge United FC. Cool badge that they actually have. Football League 1. So that's not the championship. So that's 2 leagues down from
yeah.
Premier League.
League 1 is
Premier League, Championship, League 1, League 2, League 3, League 4. I believe is how it goes. I mean, the manager's last name is almost Boner. So
Bonaire.
What does that have to do with anything?
I just noticed it. I'm looking at the Wikipedia of Cambridge United FC. Sorry, Joe. It's Mark Bonner. I thought I said Boner.
Bonet.
Bonet. It's French. So yeah, I thought Newcastle, would actually, like I said, the money clearly is not the motivation for Newcastle right now. But I had thought they would maybe win a game here and there.
Yeah.
Somehow and kind of start a trend going. I mean, it didn't take long for them though to get their feet wet in the transfer market.
Yeah.
Getting Kieran Trippier from Atletico Madrid, the former Tottenham man, coming back to the EPL after his stint in La Liga with Atletico. A pretty successful stint, I would think. I think he won the La Liga title with them, a few years ago, and obviously still huge in the England squad and England side, and he played in the Euro Cup. I think he came off the bench mostly though because they had the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold and Reece James played a couple games. Kyle Walker obviously, but he still made his appearances there for the national side. But that's a huge signing for them.
Yeah,
and I think we said before, like looking at Newcastle and how they've done this season, having 42 goals against. I mean, not really what you want to have happening. And I know Trippier is kind of more of an attacking, wing back player, but he's defensively sound. Like he's going to be back there, probably take control of the defense back there. Being a wing back, his impact, defensively maybe won't be as impactful because he is going to try and get forward a lot too, I think, and create. But I think just his knowing of the game and like the level that he plays at, because how many, national side players do you have playing for Newcastle right now?
Yeah.
English national side, like I think St. Maximin might have had a couple of French call-ups. John Joe Shelby, he maybe had a couple like 10 years ago or something.
Yeah.
But current, like, quote, world class or world class like caliber players doesn't exist with Newcastle.
Yeah.
So I think this is kind of the beginning of what they want to do going forward. And this is not going to be the only splash that they make. in the January
Yeah.
transfer window. The fact that they have done it so early kind of shows, okay, we want to get going, get the ball rolling. It wouldn't surprise me if they made at least 2 more signings, impactful signings,
Yeah.
by the end of the month.
Yeah, I honestly really like the signing from them. I think it's a really good, both defensively and offensively for them. And like you said, just with his experience and where he's played, playing at Atletico, playing at Tottenham before that, playing internationally, I think he's going to be able to give a lot to the club. And I think, like you said as well, it's going to show a lot of intent from ownership on what they want to build going forward. So clock is taking a little bit for them because they do have to start getting results and quickly if they want to get out of relegation battle. So we'll see what other signings they make. I think getting a solid outside back is a really good start. Hopefully they can bring in someone like Aubameyang, who's rumored to be on loan at least to them, bring in a striker and maybe a center back or someone in the midfield to shore things up. And I think they can do a lot for them going forward.
I mean, like Andrew said, they do a few more signings, and then hopefully Eddie Howe can do something to get them out of relegation because they have they're going to spend all this money in the transfer window, get relegated, and then have to.
They're not getting relegated.
For sure, if Trippier and Aubameyang and they get a few other signings, if they go and they still get relegated, you definitely know they're not staying.
Yeah,
that'd be crazy.
I mean, it's tight. They're what's the table like right now? They're how many points behind? And I know
they're one win away from being out of relegation. That's the point I was going to make. The bottom 4 are so bad that they're still in it, even with only having one win on the season.
I know, but it's just with Burnley 2 games in hand, Watford with a game in hand. It's tough. I mean, you would think they can get 2 wins to get out, but we'll have to see. I mean, I hope they do because that would be – I don't even know what would happen. I know we say it over and over again on the show, but Newcastle United getting relegated would destroy – I mean, as long as, the new owners stay and they fight to get at the championship and then hopefully have a decent Premier League season, if they come back up, it'll be okay, but banking on them staying up.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they do. I mean, I have no – I guess to do a little skin in the games. I said I was going to buy a jersey, but I don't know. I have a little weird soft spot for Newcastle. I don't know why. I don't know if it's from the Goal movie.
That might be it.
Santiago Munez.
With Santiago Munez, 15 years ago, whenever the hell that was.
Yeah.
Obviously, I knew who Newcastle was beforehand, and I knew Alan Shearer and the history of the team and everything. But I don't know. The Magpies, man. Hopefully they can stay up. I think, like I said, this is not the only signings they're going to make. I was kind of thinking at it from almost an Arsenal standpoint, where they just need a couple players here and there to make them a good team. I guess that you want to say. Obviously, not the caliber of players that Arsenal want, but it's almost the same holes have to be filled. They need a center back, they need a center midfielder to like Joe said, shirt up the midfield. Obviously, they can spend a lot. Actually, they could probably spend the same amount that Arsenal would spend, but they don't need as impactful as a player like Arsenal would want to have. Arsenal can go out and literally buy a world-class player from Barcelona, from Real Madrid, from Juventus or something, and put them in the side. Newcastle can squeak somebody out from Dortmund or from Ajax or something. You know what I mean? They don't have to go for the biggest home run of all time to just make their team good enough to stay up, because that's all they should be looking at right now. If Eddie Howe came in there and said, hey, I'm going to get you guys into the top 10 by the end of the season, good luck. Get the hell out of here. Just get out of relegation. That's all you have to do. Squeak out a couple wins, do what you have to do this season just to kind of get by, and then start fresh next year. Because like we said, Eddie Howe came in almost I don't know, maybe 2 months ago now. So he's only had, a handful of games. Obviously, COVID related. Also, some games got postponed from Newcastle and other sides. So he hasn't had that long of a tenure there so far, where he's been able to really establish his playing style and what he wants from the team. And he hasn't had the players probably to the caliber that he wants to make his team work properly. So if they're just to get out of relegation and just have a season to relax and breathe a little bit, I think
Yeah.
next year they'll probably, contend for at least a top 10.
Yeah.
With the likes of, Crystal Palace and Villa, and I mean Brighton's still up there too. So I don't know. That's kind of my Newcastle rant.
Yeah.
I do it
But
once a podcast. Once an
speaking of
episode.
Villa, they made a pretty big signing in January window.
That's cool.
Yeah, Philippe Coutinho from Barcelona. Did not
Didn't
think that was actually going to go through. Saw some rumors, just like anything else, really. But this actually went through, and pretty surprised. But again, wasn't getting what he wanted at Barcelona, so I guess he's back in the EPL. Little surprised Villa of all teams swooped him up. Obviously they were able to reach an agreement. But we'll see. I mean, he's played at obviously with that Liverpool and the things he did there, and then going to Barcelona. He's definitely familiar with playing at the highest level possible. So this, isn't a direct replacement for Grealish going to Man City, but obviously he's going to be able to contribute a lot to the team.
Yeah, I actually read something. Klopp said, I didn't know this, but I guess Klopp told Coutinho, he's like, you can go to Barcelona, but you're just going to be another player there. But if you stay at Liverpool, you're going to be a legend, and they'll build statues for you, and that's probably true.
Yeah.
Which is, he did leave a long time ago, but I think with the way things are now, like the attraction of Real Madrid and Barcelona is just not what it used to be. I know even when Hazard was thinking about going, I'm like, does he really want to go to? That was kind of when they're on the downslope. I was like, does he really want to go to Real Madrid right now? It's not. They're not the Galacticos that they once were with, Roberto Carlos and all those guys. So it's not like you're going to a team full of these legends. Really no one's there anymore. So a lot of just more development going on than anything. So I know it was a long time ago, like I said, when he went. But if I'm a player, especially, on a top team like Chelsea, Liverpool, and City now, that doesn't have the same, crystal ball, sparkling feature that it once did. So, hopefully that kind of nips it in the bud, and players don't, players like Coutinho and Hazard don't just leave the EPL to go to some, Spanish team like Real Madrid or Barcelona just for what they used to be, and actually think about their career. Because, same with Hazard, if you stayed at Chelsea, who knows what that would, what that would be like. Because that's similar to like Salah right now. He's the way Klopp's going now, he's gonna make Salah probably a Ballon d'Or winner. I'm wondering if Hazard could have done the same thing if he stayed, but very unfortunate. And I read one thing where it said Coutinho's highlight at Barcelona was going on loan to Bayern Munich and then knocking Barcelona out of Champions League.
Yeah,
which is very strange. So I would have loved to see him stay at Liverpool, but it is what it is now. So hopefully he can find his feet again at Villa. Maybe get reunited with Liverpool at some point. That would be a dream come true, but we'll see.
They don't need him.
I know they don't need him.
Well, I think they could use him right in the midfield.
Anyone can use him right now.
Well, I mean, because with Liverpool, we got Henderson right now.
Yeah.
You have Naby Keita, who's obviously good, but I would still take Coutinho, especially when he was
and he's off right now actually on African Cup of Nations too.
Yeah,
Keita, Mane, Salah, they're all gone for African Cup of Nations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I mean, that would be quite the full circle if he comes back at Liverpool, because he was making a splash for sure. I mean, goals he was scoring and the impact he was having.
Yeah. I mean, I feel for him. He said he's like, I want to go to Barcelona to win trophies, and then he leaves. And Liverpool is just one of the biggest contenders for basically any trophy in Europe right now. So,
yeah, and it's kind of sad to see the demise of Barcelona, because a lot of it wasn't even because of the players. It was obviously like financial reasons and just mismanagement of the club and shady deals and whatever else was going on in the whole saga of Barcelona the last couple of seasons or last decade or so. I was just reading up on it though with the deal. So it is a loan deal for the end of the season. with an option to buy for 33 million pounds.
Yeah.
If you told me you can get Coutinho for 33 million pounds, like that's a steal, I think.
Oh yeah,
Because he's only 29 years old.
Yeah.
He can clearly still hang. I mean, like he's not like, it's not like in his couple seasons at Barcelona, he's like lost a step from what he used to be at Liverpool. Like, he's going to be the same player probably. And he's the kind of guy too who can kind of do everything. He can create, he can play make, he can score. I mean, for like being a small stature, he can still defend pretty well if he has to. And he's the kind of guy that just makes your team better when you put him in the side. Like, not many guys can really do that. They're kind of more like bit players, and they just kind of slide into the team and just kind of solidify. You put him in your team, and like he makes everyone around you just play better.
Yeah.
I think for Aston Villa is a perfect fit. With the kind of players that they have around them, like because they have a lot of like hardworking players on their side, who obviously show like a lot of grit, determination. They defend well. Gerrard has done pretty well since he's gotten appointed there. So I think, again, like a lot of sides in the Premier League, they just kind of need someone to come into the team and just be like a central piece to just kind of get the whole team flowing together.
Yeah.
Because we've seen it so many times where there's just such a breakdown in the middle of the field because you have a good player as a striker or a good forward crew and then get decent, defensive core that's like good enough to kind of get by. But then there's just no connection. There's no link up. You can't go from point A to point B to point C. And, a player like Coutinho can clearly do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
can you imagine him?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, can you imagine him and Thiago center mid for Liverpool?
I don't want to talk about Liverpool with Coutinho. They don't.
Dude, that would be the best thing ever.
Can you imagine right now? Like, especially with everything around Liverpool is awesome. Thiago obviously being in midfielder is amazing, but if they get another world-class player in there, they would be
like, could you imagine if Coutinho just goes back and he's like, I'm sorry, I left here to make an impact, and just comes and crushes it? That would be the best thing ever.
Yeah, sure.
It would be, man. I'm telling you.
Andrew loves hearing
I just didn't
us talk
want,
about how amazing City and Liverpool all could be, and then Chelsea's just
chilling, man.
in third.
Literally just chilling. Like, I don't even know if we have a striker anymore.
Apologies happened with Lukaku and
Lukaku did come and apologize for his silly remarks that he made
There's
last
so
week.
many memes now.
I know. He scored yesterday too, so I don't care.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I think the situation was handled pretty well. I mean, a lot of those things get really blown out of proportion. But I think Tuchel handled it pretty well, and he really proved that no player is bigger than the club. So even Lukaku, right? Like, say something outside of line, like you're getting benched, and now I think everyone's just hugging and all made up.
Yeah, I gotta say he scored yesterday. I was kind of surprised because I saw the lineup forward for the Chelsea game against Chesterfield, and it was like Kepa in net, and then I saw a couple defensive players, a couple new guys on the side, a couple young players, and then it was like Hudson-Odoi, Werner, Lukaku. I'm like, okay, they're just gonna kill them up top. Like, like they need these guys to score. You know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of game, like we said, where they kind of, or a lot of sides will play youth academy players or young guys that only have 10 minutes to their name in appearances for the team. But then this is also the kind of game where you have to get your guys going that you need to get going.
Yeah.
And Werner coming off injury, he came off injury from a game against Malmo in Champions League like a couple months ago, and I think he re-aggravated the injury and missed another 4 games. So he finally came back, scored in the match yesterday, easy goal again, and then Lukaku also came back and scored yesterday too. So just to get those guys like kind of get the monkey off their back, they haven't scored in almost like 200 days or something, or whatever it is, like 180 games or 180 days, because all the time that they've missed. Good for them. I mean, obviously, like I said, it's kind of, you don't want to see the scoreline get beat up all the time, but from like a motivation standpoint and from just an overall like team culture, you have to kind of get these guys going when they have to get going, because there's some massive games coming up for Chelsea.
Yeah.
I mean, they have They finished their run here. They played Tottenham. They destroyed them in the Carabao Cup, EFL Cup, whatever you want to call it. Midweek they beat them. This game against Chesterfield is kind of a cakewalk. Then they have City again, and then they have City this weekend, and they have Tottenham again in the Carabao Cup, and then Tottenham right after that again in the Premier League. So their next 3 matches are huge. I think they won 3-0 actually in the Carabao Cup, so they can maybe rest some guys if they have to in that leg of the tournament and save up for the Premier League. Because if we know anything about Tuchel, he really likes to put like the best squad he can forward. He likes to mix his system up a little bit sometimes, like fitting players in certain positions with like whoever he has available. Because like Chelsea has been hurt by injuries this season a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll adjust formations. He'll make it 3 at the back, 5 at the back, 5 in the midfield, whatever it has to be, depending on who he has. But he always tries to make it like his best, most solid team that he possibly can. And to have the cushion of a 3-0 victory in leg 1 of the Carabao Cup against Tottenham, he can maybe afford to rest some guys and then come back strong for EPL.
Yeah.
In the weeks to come.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's really smart that, it does give the top teams an opportunity to get their players and get that confidence boost. Cause the worst thing as a striker is to just go on a really big dry spell and just, not score week after week. And then just
don't I know it?
Yes. Yeah, me too. Me too.
Jesus.
And then you just need any scrappy goal to just, get yourself going. Because it takes a toll on you, right? Like if you can't score, just it's in your head every time you got to go at net. And I think it's good the fact that they both got on the score sheet. Good on Tuchel for getting them back in the squad, and to the medical staff for getting them back. Even though it took quite a while.
Yeah,
but yeah, we'll see how it translates to the EPL and if they can get some goals going forward and hopefully give them a chance to catch City. Even though I do think. It's probably done at this point.
I think it's
10 points.
I know
10 points.
City might not lose another game, to be honest.
And I don't think
bold. That's bold.
I mean, no team in history has ever lost with this lead at Christmas. And I think 8 out of the last 10 seasons, I think it was, where the team that was first at Christmas won the EPL.
Yeah. And they're 10 points ahead at Christmas, and they're crushing it. And Liverpool and Chelsea are. Things can change. City, for whatever reason, I know, what was it, the 3rd or 2nd year Pep was there, they went on that streak where they lost like 4 games in a row at Christmas or whatever it was. So that could happen again, but I think they're so deep now and so drilled. They might lose 1, maybe 2 more games this season, if that. So it's going to be very, very tough to catch them. And that's assuming Chelsea and Liverpool win out, which is very tough.
What bugs me is just the amount of ties that Chelsea and Liverpool have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like the losses are the same. It's 2 losses between the 3 of them, but 7 draws and 6 draws for Liverpool. 7 draws for Chelsea, 6 draws for Liverpool.
You would think that'd be City with them not having a striker to eke out that draw to a win, but it looks like City's the one that's converting on those.
Yeah, and while clearly they don't need the strikers that we thought that they needed with the sale of Ferran Torres to Barcelona.
Yeah.
It's kind of strange to me how, I talked to this about with a friend to be named later, but we said, how can Barcelona...
Was it Phil?
We'll see. The international man of mystery. Yeah. He messaged me saying, how can Barcelona be in the debt that they're in? It's because this is before the Coutinho loan to buy deal. And go out and spend what it was 40 mil or something on Ferran Torres? 53? Where does this money come from? On Ferran Torres.
He's good.
Again, a good player, granted, but he's not, up there.
Yeah.
And
still really young.
53 million on this player?
Yeah. Yeah, where does that come from?
Where's financial fair play? Where is the slap on the wrist that they should be getting for their financial penalties that they always say that they're going to get, but they never actually get? Mm-hmm. Like you're in there. It's on paper that they're in debt by millions of dollars.
Yeah.
How can you spend 50 million on a player?
Yeah.
Who knows, man?
I don't get it. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not digging deep into the books of Barcelona every single day, but just from like an optic standpoint, like that looks bad.
Yeah.
Like how they're being allowed to do that and how they are doing it.
Yeah, and of all players, I mean, maybe Ferran Torres is probably the best option to get a striker up top who's young and could maybe be the future of Barcelona. Obviously, being a Spanish player.
Yeah, no,
So-
good signing, but I just don't get how it makes sense.
Yeah,
Like on paper.
I don't think a lot of things make sense on paper for a lot of Premier League teams.
Yeah.
Or any European teams for that matter.
Everyone's got their hand in someone's pocket, man. Everyone's got something going on with somebody else behind some other door. You know how it is.
Well, I mean, nonetheless, the deal went through.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it just goes to show that City kind of proven everyone wrong that they really don't need a striker because they don't really have a striker that they're playing consistently as a striker. Jesus was for most of his career up until this season when he started playing on the wing was a striker, but now they just got a rotating false nine and can't really say it's not working for them. I mean, they have I don't know how many different goal scorers. I think it's 9 or 10 that are in double figures for goals in the season. So you don't have people getting those 20, 25 goals a season, but everyone on your team is scoring, quite a few goals, which I personally think is a more dangerous tactic than having obviously a star player that can just shut down. Right.
No, I agree. I mean, we've talked to death about it with how they maybe should bring somebody in, but do they really need somebody? They keep winning, so like, just shut the hell up.
Yeah. Do they really need a striker? And probably it's probably going to get to the end of the season. It's going to go like this. They're not going to have a striker, and then everyone's going to say like, oh, like looks like you don't need a striker.
Yeah, I see this deal being more as maybe from Ferran Torres' camp. Like with his agent saying, okay, like you're clearly not playing right now.
Yeah.
Let's try and shop around a little bit and see what we can get. I don't know what his contract is going to be. I don't think he really cares because like player his young. We said it before. When you're in your early 20s or you're kind of beginning to establish yourself as a professional footballer, you just want to play.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
it's not like this guy. It's not like Torres is going to, I don't know, Osasuna or something, or like some lower end side in the league. Like he's going to Barcelona
or Frosinone in Italy.
Hey, that's where I'm from. That's my town.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not going to Frosinone in Serie B. He's going to Barcelona of all teams. So I mean, he's gonna fit in well there. Clearly, like I said, being Spanish, being like going back home technically. So yeah, I think he'll do well there. I think it's an immediate transfer too. Like I think he's packing his bags and he's leaving right now. He might already be gone. I just read Coutinho is going to show up to Villa, I think, within 48 hours.
Okay.
If he's not already there, so he'll be ready to go. He probably won't play tomorrow against Man United. I think that's way too soon.
I would assume not.
So whatever their next Premier League match is, see here.
I'm curious on the reception Coutinho's going to get. Makes his way back to Liverpool when he's on Villa.
Probably good. I wouldn't see why it wouldn't be a good reception.
I mean, he left like for money, basically, and trophies.
Yeah, but also like, it's not like he. When you see I play like Jack Grealish, like if Grealish leaves Villa and comes back as a City player, he'll get booed, most likely.
And he has.
Yeah.
Coutinho was a player among other world-class players at Liverpool. It wasn't like he was the guy. It wasn't like he was like the best player they've ever had and he left for money. Like he was, a great player, but he's also a player among other great players who made a great team. It's not like he was like the only piece of their squad and it's like they left and then now like they suck.
Yeah.
Bets. Let us know in the comment section. You think Coutinho's gonna get booed or cheered when he goes back?
I think it's
Yeah.
going to be good.
I think it'll
it's
be
gonna
fine.
a
I
positive
think it'll
one.
be good.
Yeah.
He's gonna walk on the field, just whistles for days. Could you
Maybe. Yeah.
It's like, whoa.
Villa's first game is actually against United, anyways, in the Premier League. So
They
they
think
play. I think
Coutinho's gonna get booed there.
probably. Who wouldn't get booed at Old Trafford?
Liverpool tie. Any sort of tie to Liverpool.
Oh, it's at Villa Park. It's at Villa Park.
Okay.
The game. So they play. The game's tomorrow, actually, for the FA Cup between United and Villa, and then they play on Saturday in the Premier League, which he most likely would make a debut on the Saturday fixture, at home to United. And then let's just see when they actually do play Liverpool, if they haven't already played them twice this season. Quickly.
I don't think they have.
Yeah, it's kind of early to play twice already.
Well, maybe they have, because I know Steven Gerrard got the reception. That was pretty cool. Was that the
Okay,
same time?
Villa Liverpool, April 16th.
There you go.
Okay.
It's at Villa Park anyway. So yeah, they already did play back at Liverpool. That's right. They played at Anfield. Gerrard got his moment.
Yeah.
Which is that's crazy. I still get chills when I see that.
Yeah.
That was
Like
wild.
your legend, the legend of Liverpool.
So crazy, man. No, what's super crazy though? Like even more crazy. Lampard went to Man City
Yeah, I know.
and then scored against Chelsea in the 90th minute to win the game.
Yep.
Like,
It's
like
a forgotten
I
year,
remember
forgotten
seeing
year
that.
in Lampard's career.
like
Just
you can't script that any crazier than what
Yeah.
it was. I like how I am right now is like how I was watching the game. I was like, how
like Frank Lampard.
what at Stamford Bridge? Like, oh my god, that's I can't.
Yeah,
Just the most
for anyone
random
who
year to-
who doesn't know how that happened, so obviously Lampard was on Chelsea, and then
God.
was going to the EPL on kind of end of
MLS.
his career, or MLS, sorry.
That's right.
Went to New York. Now New York is also owned by the same owners as Manchester City. So when Frank Lampard made his move to New York, obviously the MLS has a different calendar than the EPL. So he made his move to New York, but New York wasn't playing, so he was still technically under the ownership of whoever owns both clubs. So the ownership put him on Manchester City for a little stint, and then while during that time played against Chelsea to score a winning goal.
I remember I went on this city's website and I just saw like Lampard with a City jersey. I'm like, wait,
I'm looking
what?
at it right now.
And then
It's gross.
I didn't hear any news like on whatever, any transfer news, and I just go on City's website for whatever reason. It's like, why is Lampard just chilling with a City jersey?
Yeah. It's not as bad, but it's still bad. He tied the match. He didn't win the match. He tied the match, but I believe it was like the 89th minute or something. Oh,
Amazing.
You just don't see that happening. You don't see that.
Yeah.
That's not a thing. It's like seeing Ronaldo in a Man City jersey or something. Like what
Almost
almost
happened.
happened.
Well, allegedly almost happened. Could have
Allegedly
been
almost
just like the
happened. Or who
could have been
else?
the farthest thing that was going to happen just to get Man U to
Like
act quickly.
Thierry Henry in like a Tottenham jersey, or
Yeah,
Del Piero in Milan or something in the red and black. Like you just don't do that, man.
Yeah.
Say it's blue, different shade, but it's blue.
Yeah, blue for life.
But god dang, that was gross.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that. I still can't believe that. I easily could just click on the highlight. It's like a 30-second highlight. And like I said, I can't do it. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't watch this.
I'm going to watch it right now, actually.
No. Don't react to it. I'm gonna cry.
Oh,
It's terrible.
it's crazy, but
It is crazy.
sometimes that's how the transfers go.
Which, by the way, I don't even know if that's like legit, like legal to do. Like you own two teams, so you can just like play for whatever team you want. Like, how does that make sense? Like having an A team and a B team.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what? I don't like that. I know as Santo breaks my heart right now. We have a chance to look at either the Premier League player power rankings, which is a top 20 list, I believe it is. This is put together by Joe Prince Wright from NBC Sports. Yeah, it's a top 20 list of players throughout the season, up to date of this as of this week. Or we have a mid-season grading list of every single team. You know, an A, B, B plus, D, F for some teams. So what do you want to go through here? What do you want to look at?
Well, I was pretty intrigued by just how many City players were on the player power rankings.
Of course you were.
Well, no, because I was like, City have 6, and then I think Liverpool had 4, and I think Arsenal had 4 as well. There weren't a whole lot of players from teams that were outside of the big teams, obviously. Was a little surprised to see Cancelo at the top over Bernardo Silva. I think Bernardo Silva's been City's player.
I agree.
Even given that Cancelo's played really, really good, but it was just a little surprised to see him at the top.
I mean, the biggest thing that I see is John McGinn with Aston Villa in the number 3 spot.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if this is I might have to
Like relative performance for the team.
That's what I mean. I don't know if it's like, oh, for week 18, this is my power ranking, or if it's the power ranking from every single, you know, all the weeks combined, and then it's like your progress up until that point. I'm not sure how Joe Prince Wright does his ranking list here. If it's just like, yeah, like these are the top 20 guys of this week, or if it's the top 20 guys accumulative weeks up until this point. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I would think it's just kind of relative based on, you know, team you're on and how you're performing.
Maybe, yeah.
I've always kind of been just, you know, taking all the power rankings with a grain of salt, even when we were kids and we had the Ontario power rankings. We're like, oh yeah, our team's like 5th in Ontario.
I
5th in
love
Ontario.
those.
Those are so funny.
I love that. That's also based on like who you play and like what league you're into.
I think the highest Rose City got was 8th.
That's cool. We never cracked. We won. Tier 2.
You guys.
We won tier 2, Ontario Cup, and we never cracked like the top 20.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Out of like hundreds of teams, which is still nothing to slouch at. You know, a top 25 team. At what, like 14 years old, 15 years old. It's pretty cool. You know, it's the biggest deal in the world to you when you're at that age.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, we never cracked top 25. I still write them letters to this day.
Yeah. But no, I think, you know, based on just in general, I think most importantly, I think just top 2 are correct in terms of, you know, who the top players. I think Bernardo Silva is probably going to win player of the year for the EPL. Personally, just with how he's been able to perform. So that's probably going to him.
Yeah. I remember when there was that rumor about him going to Milan, I was like, no. That was breaking my heart. I thought that was the worst idea ever.
Yeah, no, he's really solidified himself, eh?
Yeah. He's like the best player on like the best team, making the best contributions.
Yeah.
So,
I mentioned John McGinn being number 3 for Aston Villa. That's kind of a surprise. Sorry, that's kind of a surprise for like my highest ranking, I think. But from the low end, I find it kind of offensive that Harry Kane's even on this list.
Yeah, he scored 2 goals.
Well, but how far is he up?
He's number 16.
16
new entry. So they probably recently put him in there just because of how he's been performing as of late.
He still hasn't scored. Or maybe he did. I think he actually did score.
He scored.
But still,
it's been a rough road to this point for sure.
Like having Son being at 13th, only 3 places ahead of Harry Kane. I don't want to say the word disrespectful, slap in the face, but like he should be higher than that. Like I would see like Kane maybe being like as number 20 if he is going to be on the list, and then give Son that separation between him and Kane, because he's been just above and beyond for almost a season and a half now, dating back to the end of last year and how it kind of panned out. I'm not saying Tottenham is Son's team. I'm not saying that he is, like the golden boy of the team, because it's still always going to be Harry Kane no matter what, as long as he's there. But as far as impact and performance goes, he's been the best player on the team.
Yeah.
For the last, I don't know, 15, 16 months of play.
Yeah.
And I mean, to have Kane even on this list, yeah, maybe he scored last match, so that gave him a boost in this guy's list. But I mean, that was surprising to me, big time.
Yeah.
Because Tottenham's like they're sitting sixth place, like they're not even close to really. I mean, they're close to Arsenal and West Ham because that's just like how the league is kind of panning out this year. That the top three kind of ran away a little bit at the beginning of the season. But other than that, they're a very like good team, but they're not, a surprisingly great team this year where they're like overachieving and everything like that. They've been better since Conte's been there. I'll give them that, but I don't think Kane has been the impactful reason why.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. Again, that's why I tend to not really like power rankings. A lot of it's just based on like immediate form, and a lot of times someone's name does take precedent over maybe their actual performance. So I've never really been the biggest fan, aside from if you're like top 2 or 3, just because it is like really relative, and I guess like what really constitutes a impact on the team, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, Conte's not even on this list.
Well, he hasn't played that much, to be honest. He's been hurt. He's been out hurt, and he's also been he's dealt with COVID actually too.
Yeah,
but I mean, like, yeah, like him as a player is great.
Yeah,
like we all know that. Even having De Bruyne on this list is kind of surprising because he's also hasn't played as much lately.
Yeah, he's hardly played. Yeah. I mean, that's one actually we were talking about earlier with COVID. Like he's, I guess, has still been struggling with COVID. Just from when he first got it, he's like, yeah, like I run, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm actually more intrigued by these team rankings.
Okay. We can hit that too. If you guys want to see this, we'll put it in the show notes for on the YouTube page. Footy Fans Podcast on YouTube. It's from NBC Sports. This article is also made by Joe Prince Wright. So the previous article was called Premier League Power Rankings for this week. And then this is mid-season grades for every Premier League team. It goes by alphabetical order, so we can't just kind of see like what the best teams are to the worst. But Joe, where do you want to lead off though with this?
I'm looking at Arsenal B+, that makes sense. Brentford A, that makes sense. I'm looking at these. I'm a little surprised. So Chelsea's a B, Liverpool's a B, and Man City's an A-. So I'm just looking at those.
What you want to be? You want Man City to be an A+?
What?
You want Man City to be an A+?
I mean, if this is going on current form, like I would say at least an A. I mean, maybe their whole season so far is an A-, just because really it's just 2 ties and 2 losses, which is one of their better runs. But yeah, I mean, I would say at least an A. I'm just looking. Newcastle's an F.
Yeah, they're an F.
Yeah, I mean, I think just because the whole we got bought by this massive ownership and we're just tanking right now.
This article was made on the same day Trippier was signed, by the way. I'll just say that. So it might have been a little early.
Yeah.
In the day, but Trippier not signed yet by Newcastle. I'm not saying he's gonna be the saving grace of the team, but I think he's gonna be impactful going forward, I believe.
I would honestly agree with almost all these.
Yeah, no, they actually are pretty decent. Like there's nothing that I can really fight at.
Maybe Aston Villa, maybe a little bit higher, but
Yeah, giving Villa a C is kind of tough.
I mean, especially now, they're Gerrard's crushing it, Stevie G. But no, I mean, I'm always skeptical about these things. Like you're only as good as your last like 4 or 5 games. No team is immune. You know, we're saying all this great stuff about City. They lose 3 games in a row. They're like, what is happening at City? Like it's Guardiola.
Oh yeah,
lost
fire Pep and
like,
yeah.
oh man, it just takes literally 3 weeks and like just dumpster fire, and then the whole narrative changes. I mean, like we said not too long ago, it's like, oh, a three horse race, all this stuff, and now it's like, oh, it's actually like a 1 horse race, and it's not even close.
Yeah,
So,
we were saying I was going to come down to like match week 36. And
yeah, it's going to come down to the wire. It's like, well, it's actually done, and it's Christmas. So,
yeah,
Mm.
which we do see. I mean, you're kind of like you're good for saying that because you mentioned how Christmas is really when the teams kind of shuffle out and like really
yeah,
show their cards of like who they are,
mm-hmm.
and that was pretty much said and done by the new year.
Yeah,
with City going ahead by 10 points on Chelsea, 5 straight wins. Chelsea having 1 win and 4 draws in their last 5 obviously does not help. Again, man, if you just turn those 4 draws into wins, and you're right there for Chelsea's standpoint, which is so disappointing. Yeah, looking at this list though, I mean, giving Manchester United a D-, not harsh at all from my standpoint.
No.
Just like with the caliber of players that they have. And I know we kind of gave Ole a bad run for a little bit when he was getting sacked and all that, but even that being said, you have to look at it as the players that they had weren't like bad players. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like there has to be a point where you as a player should just be able to perform well enough to get the wins that you're supposed to get.
Yeah.
And clearly we were saying how the strategy, the structure, the formations that Ole was putting together weren't working for United. But like you have they're world-class players on your team. There's not one player on that team that's not made a national side. You know, that's not hasn't been like a starter for the national team. That hasn't been, you know, on, you know, cup winning teams. You know what I mean? Like there's players there that have won before, know how to win. So for them getting a D-, I think is pretty accurate because it was just in a complete failure of everything basically for the club in their poor start to the season.
Yeah, I would agree. It's probably a fair assessment of what's going on.
I would even give them an F, to be honest. I would go as low as giving them an F.
Yeah.
Sitting in 7th place and like what they kind of did in the offseason and the hype that they had going forward this year, they're 22 points off of Man City.
Yeah.
Of their cross city rivals, right?
Yeah, last place you want to be if you're a Man U fan that far behind your local rivals.
Yeah. Wild.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about here, boys, before we head off?
No, I think we're good.
Good.
Good. All right. I don't know how long this went for. Hour and a half, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, hour and a half.
Just want to thank everyone for joining us. We are the Footy Fans Podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter. This video will be on YouTube as well. And the audio version will be on any kind of podcast platform that you guys can get. Just search Footy Fans Podcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch up next week after all of the week's action.
See everyone.
Ciao.